Hello and welcome back to another Coach Dave Academy lap guide video. My name's Bart and today I'll be taking you around the Navarra circuit that's newly been added to iRacing in the FIA4 car. Here's my hot lap. All right, heading to the first corner now at Navarra. Not really a corner, actually, to be honest. Just a long turn that's a straight for this car. And then into what's a double left afterwards. So a bit similar to Portimao, actually, where you have kind of this triple right to start the lap. A bit different in terms of, Portimao, you got, let's say, one tighter corner, a wider one, then more of a hairpin. This one, you have a flat out bend, kind of a tighter 90 degree, and then an actual hairpin at the end. So makes it a little bit trickier with this. I mean, like I said, this turn, don't even worry about it. Don't worry about that fake apex there. Just completely avoid that. All we're worried about is preparing ourselves for the first real corner of the lap, right? For me, this is all one corner. And that hairpin, it's important to be able to brake late into there and also to get a good exit, right? We don't want to be messing around for too long. So the first thing we're going to want to do is position ourselves correctly for the braking. Super important here. If you are too narrow, you will lose a huge amount of time. Track limits here, right tires on the red and white curb, so you can run out to about here. You see my left tires are still in the green. You're going to want to be this wide, and you're also going to want to try and do this early. By that, I mean don't move over towards the end of the curbing here. Please aim for it and avoid. That's why it's important to just forget about that first bend, that slow right there. Oh, sorry, gentle right. Okay, just ignore it. Just aim to be here. Right tires on the red and white. Edge of the red and white. Cool. Okay, now we can turn into here, give ourselves a good angle as we're about to hit the brakes into, again, the first real braking zone and first real corner of the lap. All right, braking now. Again, we can't even see the corner we're at. So this being a new track and not like a well-known track, right? Certainly this was the case for me. It's going to take you a few laps to get this right. It is a weird, tricky, and like a blind corner. So fortunately, this is all runoff, right? This is all runoff. So my advice, if you're practicing this track and learning it for the first time, as I'm sure many of you will be, just go for it. Just honestly, try braking late. It's okay. Like you're gonna make mistakes. It's fine. The runoff's there. Just keep learning, and eventually you'll get it right. But just start with, like I said, the basics here, and just try and keep pushing and pushing. It's going to take a while to get comfortable here. But like I said, the most important thing: prepare the car here, turn in, brake now. Basically, just as you come off the curb, don't really want to be braking on the curb. Braking fairly hard there. Down to fourth, you're going to have to come off the brakes now. If we hold the brakes any longer, we're going to lock up. And this is, again, a challenge at this corner. You're constantly fighting the lockups, yeah? If you want to try and brake as late as possible, that means trying to brake as efficiently as possible, maintain as much pressure all the way in to the apex. Well, the challenge is obviously as you're turning, the tires also want to be used to actually rotate the car. and that's where you're going to get lots of lockup. So super challenging corner in that way. You can see I decrease my brake pressure as we go through the kink here, and as it straightens up again, I actually reapply the brakes. Okay, so that's important. Hard initial hit, that's where most of your braking is going to happen. Try and get down to kind of fourth as you go into that second right. Come out of the brakes, just release the car, let it run out to the edge of the track here. Back on the brakes, a little bit hard, about 40% brake pressure here. Just whatever you need to get it stopped. Down to second gear. Don't worry about running a little bit deep into this hairpin. I would never want you to be early here. If you're early here, you're going to just lose mountains of time. Okay, it's easy to lock up and run deep, as I discussed, but you really need to try and be pushing here. If it feels that the car's not going to stop, don't turn in. Don't just go, stuff it, I'm just going to turn in, or like just lock up and slide. I would prefer you go another car length in this direction. Just go straighter for one car length and just wait to turn in a little bit later, okay? You're going to get a better exit that way. You're not going to lose much time. You're not going to take that much extra distance. It's going to be fine. So just be calm. Try and be calm through here. Get the car stopped, and only once you get it stopped, rotate. Off the brakes, rotate the car, feed the throttle. Somewhere near that inside apex. Run out here. Again, same track limits pretty much everywhere here. Red and white curbing. As long as you've got your two tires on that, you're all right. Run out there. Smooth. We don't need to go all the way to the right-hand side of the track because this is easy flat and it's just extra distance. Smooth. Don't need to take any more of the curb than necessary. Run the car out. Don't need to run on that curb. Move over here onto this little bit of AstroTurf on the right-hand side. This is a warning. I tried this. Do not touch this red and white curb. It is nasty. If you try and turn in off it, you will just end up in this gravel trap or missing the apex of this next left-hander. You've been warned, okay? So with that in mind, we're going to turn here where just before the red and white starts, the end of the green, turn in, flat out, lift as we get in here, try and aim to meet the inside curb. You don't have to meet it. Like, it's not the end of the world if you miss this, but it's certainly nicer to try and get in because I feel like there's a just shorter distance through this corner if you can get in a little bit tighter here, but mainly we're just trying to carry speed. As we'll see in a moment, there's no long straight after this. There's no exit here. It's just about carrying speed in and forcing ourselves wide in the next part of the corner. All right. So lift it out here. A little bit of brake just because the car's going to move around and push away from the inside. So I just want to brake to make sure I don't run too wide, but it's barely anything, about 2% brake, something like that. Feed the throttle now. I feel like I got the car turned enough. I can push it out to the right-hand side of the track. Again, legally, you can run wider than this. It's very, very hit and miss in terms of actually being able to... This is not flat, as you can probably see. So this curve is one of the newer 3D curves, like is the case with all the new tracks on iRacing. That's bumpy enough on its own. There's a crest here, and the track kind of goes away from you. It's horrendous braking over here. If you really want, you can experiment with it for that extra kind of width on the entry, and it's also turning the whole time. I did not find it works at all. For me, I would definitely recommend get to the white line here, get your right tires to the white line, and then hit the brakes. Just brake here. All right. With that in mind, braking out, try and be as straight as possible. You see, I'm still turning a little bit just because the track's turning here. A bit like somewhere like Zandvoort, but we just want to try and keep the car as straight as possible as we brake. Down to third gear, turn in. This apex, ignore it. Most laps I missed it. They were fast. And don't be in early. If you're in early here, you get really hurt, okay? We don't need to hit this apex curb. You shouldn't really be hitting it, or you just want to touch the white line, or if anything, be about half a car width away from the inside. Like I said, the worst thing you can do is be in early and clip these curbs, get on throttle early, and you'll end up really out of position for the next section and getting it off track. So keep that in mind. Important here, like I said, just to make sure you get the car stopped and that you're pushing the braking late. One more thing as well is very, very bumpy in this braking zone. Again, we're turning, but it's also just bumpy in general, even if you're not on the curb. So you might not be able to... Some laps you might be like, oh, it's just sliding. Why is it sliding? The car just... The front just keeps sliding and I can't turn to the corner. It might be because you're locking up a little bit or the car's getting a bit upset under the bumps, over the bumps, and it's just pushing on. So keep that in mind. Try being a bit softer with the brake. All right, just about hit the apex there. On throttle. Force the car out. Again, this is completely legal as long as you have these left tires on the red and white. It's all good. So you maximize this bit of track here. This is a good reference for where you want to be. You should be forced out onto this strip of AstroTurf. Bring the car back over before the grass comes up for us there. You don't need to run out here yet, okay? Just try and reduce the distance, keep the car in here without putting silly amounts of lock on. Smooth the wheel. Now into this kind of 90 right. It's got a relatively long straight after it. Important here, I like to have my left tire over the curb, right tire on the tarmac. Again, you could be inside the curb. which is going to give you good grip, but it's going to be narrower, or you could have your right tires on the curb. I found this is horrendously bumpy once again, so I preferred it like this, having your tires, so where you're actually making contact with the track, obviously where the brakes are putting the force through the tire, not on the curb, because if you start braking with your tire on the curb, that's when you have all sorts of problems. Up to you. If you feel like this is too difficult for you to start with, just start braking on the track, or maybe just take an off track every lap and go a bit wider, and then try and lean towards this. I'd definitely try and recommend getting to this, although I know it can be a bit challenging. All right, not super complicated here. Not much in the way of braking references. You've got a 50 on the right. If we go back a little bit, you'll see it's a 50 meter on the right. You're braking about there. Brake fairly hard. Hard to hit the brake, not very long. Down to third gear. Try and do most of your heavy braking before you reach the curb, because again, that's how you lock up and slide the tire. So you can see I do heavy braking. As my left tire goes onto the curb, drop off the brake pressure, because I'm turning in now, okay? So again, if you turn in late here, you go a bit late on the brakes, that's all good. If you turn in early and you're still dragging the brake, that's when you have a moment on the curb, okay? So try and do the braking before, if you're going over the curb, try and do it before you have to turn in, and then just come off the brake. All right, rotate the car, pick up throttle, meet that inside curb. If you're a bit wide of it, you really get hurt because you get fed out onto this curb, which is quite nasty. Don't run the floor of the car over this curb, just left tires. Very abrasive. There's a few of those curbs there, those second stage FIA type curbs. Watch out for those, quite rough. And into this interesting kind of snail corner here. So what we want to do here is very similar to the previous corner. Really important to be efficient on the brakes. Good references is the light board, braking just before that, after the 100 and before the 50. Braking about there. Really hard hit the brake. Down to second gear this time. You should be stopped early for this one. Doesn't mean super early and have your right tires all of this massive curb. Please don't do that. You just want your right tires kind of clipping the white line or hitting this curb. But your braking should be done early for me here. Should be on throttle early, okay? So I'm already picking up throttle, half throttle by here, full throttle now. The reason for that is because there's actually a lot of track to use here on the exit. So you should be able to brake, get the car really well stopped, hard brake, turn in straight on the throttle, push the car out. You don't need to turn for that long. It's not that tight a turn. It's not as tight as it looks. Push the car out. As long as you got your right tires on the red and white, you're all good there. Bring the car to the right, shorten the distance, get back over, prepare the car for this next 90 left. Pretty basic corner here. Right tires on the white line again. Don't love the curve for braking. Brake hard, short brake there, down to third gear. Left tires, again, don't have to hit the curb. White line or curb's all good here. Make sure you don't lock up. It's the most important thing. So you're very much straight line braking, off the brake, rotate. Okay, feed the throttle. I like third here. You could try second if you feel like it's bogging too much, but I found third's good because the traction's just nice on the exit. Watch out, very easy to get off track at this corner, I found. So if you run any wider than that, but just be careful. Okay, here, keep your right tires on the curb, just on the entry there, just because we want to kind of widen up this corner as much as possible, not have to reposition all too much. This is probably one of the weirder corners on the track. This, again, it's like a 90-degree left, but it's got a crest on the entry, and then it kind of cambers and then goes away from you, so it's a bit more complicated than some of the other corners on this track. Certainly one of the more difficult ones. It's very easy to get understeer on entry and then oversteer on exit. So the front starts sliding the entry, the rear starts coming around you on the exit. With that in mind, this is a corner where, again, I found in the end, originally I was just driving it, let's say normally, just taking the white line, try and push the entry, get on throttle nice and quickly. But later on, I actually found with some more practice, I think it's a bit better here. So just stop the car slightly earlier. It's also good for being consistent. Brake as you would, relatively hard, not very long. Get the car in a bit earlier, hook it up on the curb. You don't need to take as much as me here where I take all these yellow bits, to be honest. But as long as you get your left tires kind of up, not here, but up where these rubber marks are, up onto the higher side of the curb, hook it up on the upper edge of the curb. I think it's a good thing to do here because, like I said, if you turn in, normally you understeer and then you get oversteer here, and there's kind of a crest, there's kind of like a camber and then a bump. If you go over the curb, it kind of hooks you around and avoids you from having as much trouble on this part of the track. It gives you a bit more grip. You'll see here. Pick up throttle on the curb. It's going to slide a little bit on exit, but I found it's just a little bit easier to control. Cars run out there. Try and get off this second stage curb. It's horrendous. Get back to the left. Not much time to think there. Be very disciplined with yourself. Okay, I've got to get back to the left-hand side. That's free time every lap. Free time every lap, and it's super easy and so many people do the thing where they just don't get back in time. So don't be lazy, earn free lap time, get back to the left-hand side of the track. All right. Braking straight line now again. Wasn't a fan of braking on the curb here, just on the white line. Nice and straight because we got to the white line nice and early. Again, another hard hit of the brake. This time down to second. This is literally the most cookie cutter hairpin ever. It's not even coming from like a high speed. It's not a high speed braking zone. You haven't got a long straight beforehand. It's just a cookie cutter hairpin. Nothing to say here, to be honest with you. Just make sure you're not early. If you brake early and you turn early and you have to turn out or you hit this inside curb, it's a tall curb. It's not going to be good for your lap time. If you're slightly late, you'll live. You know, if you're slightly late, it's not too bad. If you can bang on within like a tire width of the white line, that's really good. All right. Again, brake hard. And a key to be able to smash the brake here and being more efficient than your competitors, getting the car straight, getting it over to the white line nice and early. That's all I'm going to say. Keep it going in a straight line. You can see I wait till I stop the car, till I rotate, a bit like we talked about at the first corner. On throttle already. As soon as I've got it turned, I can plant the throttle. It's only second gear. I don't turn it anymore. I don't want to hit the inside curb. On throttle now. Just clip the curb a little bit. Let the car run out there. Use all of the available track limits. Again, right tires on the red and white curbs. All good. Don't need to run it to the right. You might think so, but just no point. For distance, keep the car to the left. Use a bit of this curb. Bring the car over. Left, 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 left. Again, very similarly, important to prepare the car nice and early here to the left-hand side. This one's even more challenging. So for me, reference-wise, I'm looking to get my left tires to the white line just at the start of the curbing here where this 150 board is, which is a very optimistic 150 board, might I add, because that corner is definitely not 150 meters away from that board. But, oh well. So, braking into here. Braking pretty much at the start of the curb when we get to the white line. Again, that 150 board, pretty good reference for you as well. Uphill braking, so you can brake very, very hard, very, very late. Gravity's helping us here. I've also got more grip because the front tires are pushing into the road. Okay, so you look how hard I hit the brake, 95%, this is 97%, something like that. As hard as you'll ever hit the brake in this car. Smash the crap out of the brakes. Okay, down to second gear. As you try and turn in here, bleed out nice and quick. This is not like some of the hairpins we had before where you just miss the corner and turn in late and cut back. You've got to get in here, kind of where this camber is. You'll see it hooks us up in a second. See, it just dips down here. The track just dips down. It'll kind of bite. I try to be quite smooth on the wheel, so you see I don't turn in too much until I go through that bump. If you're too aggressive on the turn in, I find that the rear can kind of slide around a bit. So just wait a moment, go over that bump, then put lock on, drop the brake, turn the car, come around the back of the curb, plant the throttle, then off the steering, nice and quick, let the car run out, hold the car on the left-hand side of the track, and that's the end of our lap at Navarra. All right, so that brings us towards the end of the video now. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. And you can also find the Coach Dave Academy Discord link in the YouTube video description. My name is Bart. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.